Hey, what's up folks? In this video, I'm going to go over how to make your own complete NES games. These are real NES games that you can play on your NES and include a box, label, and instruction booklet, just like something you'd find at the store in the 1980s. Here are the materials and software you'll need. I'll go into more details as the video goes along and include any links in the description. Use your paper and pencil to brainstorm ideas on what you want your game to look like. I would recommend starting off with a very basic game. NES Maker has a lot of templates that you can use. I decided to use the maze game template. Next up, I started on the graphics. For the graphics, you can use NES Maker's built-in pixel editor, or you can do what I did and just modify the template graphic files using Microsoft Paint. The NES hardware is very limited, so you'll only be able to choose from a small number of colors. The size of your sprites are also limited, but there are workarounds such as grouping pixel blocks together. Animations are made up of multiple different sprites. You will need to modify and recycle the sprites so you don't run out of memory. For the sound, I used FamiTracker and a cheap MIDI keyboard. Again, the NES hardware is very limited, so you'll only be able to use a small number of channels and instruments. The NES Maker template already came with some songs, which I modified to ensure the music plays with no issues on the NES hardware. This was probably one of the hardest steps because I really wanted to replicate the Programming Peanut theme song. Check it out, let me know what you think. The programming is split into two parts, the game logic and the controls. NES games were programmed using a programming language called assembly. Unlike more modern programming languages, assembly instructions were specific to the hardware's microprocessor. The NES uses the Motorola 6502 microprocessor, so that means it had to be programmed in 6502 assembly. The way assembly works is you write hundreds, sometimes thousands, of very simple math operations that would tell the microprocessor what to do. Luckily, you don't have to be an expert in assembly because NES Maker has pre-written code blocks that you can use for the logic. However, you also have the option of writing your own assembly code if you feel comfortable doing that. For the controls, you can use the UI to map buttons to certain actions. It's pretty straightforward. The drop-down menu shows what action you want, and then you can map that to whatever button you want on the NES controller. Finally, you can go ahead and test your game by booting up the built-in NES emulator. Before moving forward, I suggest testing the game and fixing any bugs, and repeating the process until you're happy with your game. Now that you have your game ready, it's time to put it on an actual NES cart. The NES Maker website gives you the option to purchase these blank NES carts and a writer, also known as a flasher. Plug in the cart writer into your computer using the included USB cable. Next, install the drivers that are included in the NES Maker package under the folder titled Flasher. Once you're ready, just click on the Flash Cart button on top and it'll write the game onto the NES cart. Once the game has been written onto the cartridge, test it on actual hardware and see if it behaves the same way as it does on the emulator. First off, you'll need the template for creating NES labels. I'll provide the link in the description. Once you have the template, you can design it using either Photoshop or GIMP. GIMP is free, so I decided to use that. There are two ways to make the physical cartridge labels. The first way is to print the design onto matte shipping label paper, then laminate it, and then cutting it using a silhouette machine. I would recommend investing in a silhouette machine if you plan on making many labels, but honestly, you can cut them by hand using scissors or a paper trimmer at your local paper store. You can also use a regular hole puncher to round the corners if you need to. The second way, which honestly is the best way, is to simply buy glossy sticker sheet paper. I use glossy white vinyl sticker sheets by Buttercrafts. To apply the label, always start with the top of the cartridge, then carefully fold the label and work your way down. For the box, you'll need the NES box template. There's a whole website dedicated to old school video game boxes. I'll provide the link for that in the description too. Use Photoshop or GIMP to make your design, and now that your game is complete, you can include screenshots in the back of the box. And make sure to add a cool description of the game too. You can download either an A3 or A4 sized box template. If you decide to print using the A4 size template, the image will be split into two and you'll have to tape or glue them together to make one. The official NES game boxes were printed on A3 cardboard paper, but that size is too big for regular home printers. So what you want to do is go to your local paper store like FedEx, Kinko's, and bring them your flash drive and they'll print it for you. Make sure to let them know you want to use this kind of paper. Once you've printed the box, you can start cutting it and then use a ruler and a ball clay tool to score fold lines where needed. Make sure to take your time in this step so that your box is able to close nicely. You can use double-sided tape or glue on the edge of the box so that you can close it. If you want to include an instruction booklet, you can do so by printing it onto this kind of paper. Then staple the papers together right where they fold. The instruction booklet templates can be found on the same website as the box templates. I decided to instead include a small cutout of the game's cover and sign it as Programming Peanut. You could also include posters, stickers, warranty cards, and other cool stuff like that. Once you're done with all that, you'll want to seal up the game so that it's ready to hit the shelves. Original NES games came with a game sleeve and a foam block to keep the game from shifting around in the box. Both of these things can be purchased online for pretty cheap. Now you can start packing everything together. Put the cartridge inside of the game sleeve, then grab the foam block and place it at the bottom of the cardboard box. Then you'll be able to put your game on top of the foam block, and then finally you can close the box. I use these shrink wraps which I got on Amazon. Place the game in the bag and set it all the way to the corner. Fold a piece of aluminum foil over the plastic and use a hair straightener to seal the plastic. I didn't have a hair straightener, so I used a soldering iron instead. Cut the excess plastic, making sure not to create any holes where the game is. Finally, use a heat gun or hair dryer on low setting to shrink the plastic by passing it over a few times. Don't heat one spot for too long, otherwise it'll create holes in the plastic. And there you go. You now have your very own complete NES game ready to be added to the bargain bin of a KB Toys or Toys R Us somewhere. Anyway, I hope you all enjoyed this video. Let me know if you have any questions. I always do my best to answer all comments. Please like, subscribe, and share. And I'll see you next time. Thanks.